Alexa, stop.
I'm Nick, the older brother to Alex, my sibling with Down syndrome. I'd been training as an actor for the past 3 years, but I'm having to put my personal ambitions aside to become Alex's carer and give my parents their first break in 25 years. I'm aware that one day our parents will no longer be around and his care will eventually be my responsibility. Down syndrome is a condition that affects 1 in 1,000 people born each year. It means you have an extra chromosome, which causes learning disabilities and increases the likelihood of other poor health conditions. Around half of them will have heart issues and may also experience problems with muscle tone, digestion, hearing and vision.
Good boy. What up, mate? Is that alright?
To prepare for the future, I want to help Alex to become more independent, so I'd planned a trip to take us out of our comfort zones. I had no idea if either of us would be able to cope, but I needed to find out what life is like for other siblings in our situation. Our first journey is a 9-hour drive to Cornwall to meet Molly and Charlie, the first of 4 sets of siblings from around the world.
Happy birthday!
Sweet, nice to meet
How you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank
Nice to meet you.
Hello, handsome.
Hello.
Hello, sorry, hi.
On the first day, we arrived to meet Molly and Charlie in the afternoon. Charlie was keen to show us around his house. Having bravely fought off testicular cancer, his parents had built him an annex just off the family home.
Nice.
You're a good cook, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you do all your own cooking?
Yes.
Pretty much. You have some help sometimes, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're good at stir fries.
Yeah.
That's your favourite.
Brilliant. That's what I do. That's my go-to dish. Yeah.
We had a barbecue
Prawn
the other
stir
day
fry.
and he brought around his own dish.
Oh, nice.
And Charlie's dish was, I would go with pureed strawberry or something like that, but
Yeah.
he'd fried some strawberries or some salt and
Oh,
pepper.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds fancy.
Yeah.
I think one day Alex might have something like this.
You'll destroy your kids' lives if you take him home. Think of them. That's what they actually said to us at the hospital.
It's horrible.
Yeah, then they told us you'd be a sex pest, or you would die of leukemia. So either way, our bets were edged to just go home, forget about it, and pretend it never happened.
The Summers family.
Yeah. Yeah, Charlie.
There is a lot of us.
Yeah.
After receiving a warm welcome, I wanted to know more about what Charlie does every day and growing up, how life had been for the both of them.
He goes gardening twice a week, so that's his job.
Yeah.
But you don't do like the gardening really, do you? You do lots of painting and stuff like that. And then, yeah, he plays football in the football season. He's not so good at reading, are you?
No.
Actually, you spelt love wrong in my birthday card.
No.
Yeah.
How did you
Years
spell
of
it?
practice. Loev. Ah. I noticed.
Oh, no, my head is not right.
Your handwriting's not right.
No, my head.
Oh, your head. Your head's not right.
Okay.
Yeah. We used to get in trouble a lot, me and Charlie. People used to stare. You know, we've had people get out of swimming pools when he's got in because of whatever. And we used to stick our tongue out at everyone, didn't we?
Yes.
We used to get in trouble all the time. Dia, he calls my mum Dia. And Dia used to tell you off, didn't she? So this year, he came up to see me at uni. Yeah, all my friends came out and we went to the SU and had a good boogie, didn't we? But you do get people still that stare. And, like somebody got their phone out to take a video. And like things like that, I suppose that's how it's affected friendships for me. You know, you always have somebody that sleeps in your house, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which is nice.
Right.
Because we struggled for so long trying to find, you know, we never wanted to put them in a home or anything like that.
Yeah.
And we struggled for ages with what to do because obviously he saw my eldest brother move out and my brother Harry and me, and Charlie wanted his own place as well.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, now we've got like a really happy medium. He gets the company, but they don't baby him, you know. They wake
Yeah.
him up because he's lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair. The D word, like, Down syndrome isn't really a thing. He does have his extra chromosome, but it's never been... Charlie does look in the mirror and see a bodybuilder. He thinks he's, like, the best thing since sliced bread. You are, by the way.
So it's not because when we chatted on the phone about it, and you said,
Yeah.
you know, don't mention the D word.
Yeah.
And yet you feel freely saying it,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah.
Is it just the fact of
I don't like to
it's
put it in a
putting it in a
box.
box, yeah, and
Yeah.
as a label, and I completely understand
Yeah,
that.
Charlie is totally normal and has been brought up exactly the same as me and Tom and Harry and Stan. But that does fall on its head sometimes. Like when I went to uni, Charlie was like, hold on, she's younger than me. Why is she going to uni and why did I never get the chance? And we always tell him different things. You want to go uni, don't you? But we just say it's so much work, isn't it? You know, it's really tough, lots of reading and writing, and the socialising's good, Char, but it's tricky too. And like when I learnt to drive, Charlie was like, hold on, I'm like, Molly's younger than me. Boys with glasses who are 25 aren't allowed to drive, are they? So, yeah.
Yeah.
So Charlie has never been able to drive because of the government, so he hates the government.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't that right? Like I say to you, that we don't treat him like he's got Down syndrome, but actually we do. We don't actually let him cross the road by himself, you know, because he'd probably get run over. He can't count change out, so he's never been able to get a bus. There's things like that. He understands that he's got, and he understands he needs somebody helping him cook.
Alex doesn't know this.
Yeah. Chloe must just be thinking, like, what the hell? Why are they making me play with this guy? He's younger than me. I think he has Down syndrome. Like, obviously we're thinking, yes, Charlie, you both have an extra chromosome, but...
It surprised me that they had never discussed Down syndrome with Charlie. Perhaps they were afraid about how he would react. Charlie took me to one of his favourite pubs that he regularly visited. Although it was only a short walk, his family told me he enjoyed the sense of independence of being able to go there by himself.
I know your brother.
You like my brother?
Yeah. And his personality.
You like his personality?
Yeah. And it's really nice, intelligent, he got you support. You two got a relationship.
We do. We have a really good relationship. Yeah. He's my brother. And we do a lot together.
And this is funny, cheeky. I got angry, bad-tempered, drinking issues. I know you'll be mean to you. You keep on going your life.
I had an engaging and insightful conversation with Charlie that evening, something I always wished I could have had with Alex.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Good, you say good health.
Bala 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 boom boom boom. Bala 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 boom boom. Pickle. Some please.
Molly agreed to meet me one last time before we left. She wanted to show me Porthleven, as it had become a special place for the family while Charlie had been battling cancer. Molly told me they used to sit on the harbour wall for half an hour once a week. For those 30 minutes, they felt as if Charlie didn't have cancer and that everything was okay.
Charlie's never said the Down syndrome word.
Yeah.
But maybe he does know. Because if he sees a girl on the TV and I'll say, oh my God, Charles, you'd make a nice girlfriend. He's got a really choice word for them, but he'd just say, no way, she's weird. You know, like he knows that she's got Down syndrome. I think maybe having moved out and now actually with people that look after him, maybe that has been his realisation.
Like, do you ever feel like, oh, let's break away from that illusion and just, like, tell him straight up, this is how it is, this is who you are, this is, do you know what I mean? Or
No.
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 That would crush him, do you think?
I don't know why we ever would.
Yeah.
I feel very passionate about that.
Yeah.
It will never be like this is what's wrong with you, that's why you can't do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's happy, and that's the main thing. That's all you can ever ask. Especially after what he's been through, you know. And the Down syndrome aside, for anybody to be happy in this world is important. Happy to have your health and to be happy. Yeah. I really, really think it's a special thing.
I could understand why Molly felt protective and why her family didn't want to put a label on Charlie's condition. But I left wondering whether it was actually necessary. It seemed to me that perhaps it was causing him to be confused about who he really was and why he was treated differently. Our next stop was across the pond to America. It was the first time we had been to New York, so naturally we took some time to see the sights. It was great to see Alex expressing himself so openly. He never seems to have any inhibitions. I've always tried to be more like him in this way. After settling in, we headed down to Brooklyn to meet our next siblings, Amber and Armand. Amber was living and working by herself in the city, but Armand had travelled down from the family home in upstate New York to spend the weekend with her, as he often does.
Okay. Do you want to press 3F? Top one. Hold it down. Oh. Off to you, mate. Ooh. Slam the door.
Thank you so much for having us,
Not a
honestly,
problem.
and seeing us.
Yeah, not a problem. How was your
Really
trip?
cool. So does Alan come to see you like every weekend or?
Not every weekend. I see him maybe like once a month, maybe.
Yeah.
Usually about once a month.
Nice.
Yeah.
And do you like being here? Yeah? What was it like growing up, like with you two together? I mean, was he very different? Sorry, I'm talking about you like you're not here. Sorry, man. But like, did you see him as someone who had Down syndrome?
It was interesting. So growing up, I definitely, when it was just us or around family, that like, you know, it would just be, oh, that's just Armand, right? And then like I'd have friends come over and they'd be like, oh, like your brother has Down syndrome. And it's not something I would ever think to warn people about or like to heads up them about. And then it became a thing when someone else would make it a thing, kind of.
Yeah.
So he was always Armand. I always knew he had Down syndrome, but it wouldn't ever be like a focal point.
Do you know what they do over the age of 18, 19, where they go, or what, you know, do they get jobs? Is there places for them to go? I mean, if there isn't somewhere to go, are they just at home in their apartment in the city?
A little while ago, we were looking for programs like for recreation for Armand, and it's really hard to find programs for adults with Down syndrome. A lot of it's like specific to kids with Down syndrome or like under the age of like 15, or even very specific to like kids with autism. So it's very difficult to find programs specialized for kids or adults with Down syndrome. That was rough. Even in the city here, it's kind of a little bit difficult to find programs for adults with Down syndrome. Yeah.
I mean, it surprises me because, you know, this is New York City. This is one of the biggest cities in the world. And, you know, you're saying that there's not much out there, specifically over the age of 18. With apparently very few opportunities to socialise, either upstate or in the city, I wondered how often Armand had the chance to interact with people outside his immediate family.
What about like your friends? What about your friends at school? Do you get on with them?
And I got girls.
What is it?
He said he has girls.
Oh, girls, nice. So you got a girlfriend, or you got loads of girlfriends?
Yeah.
Did he understand relationships, having a serious girlfriend?
So I'm not completely sure, to be completely honest. So like, there was this girl that used to hang around pretty often. Her name was Jasmine, and they were like really close friends growing up. And Jasmine had Downs as well. Yeah, and that was way like a long time ago, like back when he was in elementary school. And like we like joked and called her like his girlfriend and things like that. And he sometimes like she'll be like, oh, Amber's my girlfriend, or like Mommy's my girlfriend, or like things like that. So I think he maybe equates like girlfriend to like a woman of like importance to him.
But in terms of, you know, sex, has that ever come up, that sort of thing?
I know my dad had like the talk with Armand like a while ago, because it was something that like he seemed to be kind of interested in, like, you know, like he'll talk about like body parts and things like that, but it never goes to the point where like he'll actually, I guess, pursue. But my dad did have a conversation with him about it. I wasn't there for that one, but I know that it did happen. Me and Armand don't really talk about it, so he's never run into me.
Yeah. But he doesn't feel like he's missing out, that's what I mean.
I don't think so. And I think it's because I'm not exactly sure, but I don't feel like he does. And the only reason is like Armand is pretty vocal. Like, you know, like if he wants to do something, he'll usually tell you what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And it never is something that I've heard him express. Like, you know, I've heard like, you know, I want a girlfriend and things like that, but I don't know if that necessarily equates to sex, you know?
Who are these girls, Alex? Alex, stop. Who's that?
Val.
And this one, look, Alex. Her.
Nolan.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Yes.
That's Jennifer Lawrence. Yeah, it is. All these pictures, Alex, of girls. What's this?
Go.
Girls? And what's that?
A booby.
Boobies.
Yeah.
Do you like boobies? Hang on, wait. Why do you have pictures of girls on the iPad? Why?
Oh, okay.
You want to kiss them? It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, that one.
You can only have one. You can't have all of them.
There's 5.
No, you can only have one. You can only have one. You can't have 2. You can't.
In an ideal world, I would have loved for Armand to like have gone through that college program I was telling you about, and to be at this level of independence where like I could bring him into the city, and like I have enough money and he has enough like life experience to like have his own or hold his own job, and like I can like support him in any way. Like we live maybe close together, like maybe we have 2 different apartments in the same building, like, you know, like I think that would be really, really great. That's like
dream.
Ideal.
Yeah.
I think that would be amazing. Yeah, that's my dream.
Yeah. Same for you, Armand? Your
Yeah.
dream?
Would you like to live in the city with me, have your own apartment? Do you want to go to college? You want to do more school? No? Why not? Huh?
I do.
Do you don't want to go anymore?
Do you just want to get a job?
You want to work at ShopRite?
Run a shop?
Yeah, he wants to work at ShopRite. It's like a grocery store upstate.
Okay. That's great.
Oh.
A job, you know, a good job, and, you know, maybe a place of his own one day.
Yeah, I think that'd
Don't
be
we all
amazing.
want that?
Yes. Yes, I think that's everyone's like, you know, like I want to have a good job that I really love and that I enjoy doing, and I want to have a home I like, come home to and like love.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I feel like my mom babies him a little much, and I feel like that takes away from his independence. And I think Armand's definitely, he's 21 now, so I'm like, you know, it's time like simple things like when my mom makes dinner, like, hey, come make let him make his own plate, or like, hey, let him get his own drink, or let him tie his own shoes. Don't just do it for him.
Yeah. Wow. My parents, I love them to bits, but they do everything for Alex.
Yeah.
And, you know, part of the reason why we live together is because I hated going around there and seeing what they were like with him. I wasn't on board with how they were.
I guess with your mom like doing everything for Alex, does that ever cause like a tension between you and your mom? Because I know for me specifically, my mom will think that I don't do enough for Armand because
Really?
I don't do the exact same thing she does, or she'll think I'm like pushy or anything like that. But I'm just like, hey, like I just think he needs to like do things for himself sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
That's why I like give my mom the little things like, hey, like let him do it himself. Because I think it just gets important for him to build those habits and to be able to recognize that, hey, I can do this for myself.
Yeah.
I don't have to ask anybody else for it. Because even this morning, he asked me, hey, Amber, can you help me put my belt on? And I was like, Armand, did you try to put your belt on? He said, no. And I said, put your belt on. And he did it completely fine by himself. I'm like, oh, so you don't actually need someone to put your belt
Yeah.
on. He's just so used to someone else doing it.
Do you feel you would ever take Armand on?
100%. We actually, I think it's called a legal guardian. My mom and I spoke about that, I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago. She had me come upstate and we like went to court and everything and had me sign off the papers for it to become his legal guardian afterwards. And like that's something that I would rather do than ever have anyone else that I don't know, like kind of like looking after him.
I think it's great that you're thinking about it now and spoken to your mum about it.
Yes.
Armand, how would you feel about that, being with your sister?
Yeah? You don't think you'd miss mommy and daddy?
No.
You said no?
I do.
Yeah?
Where's that grin, Armand? Yeah. Ah.
Do you find Alex to be self-aware? As in, like, do you think Alex knows that he has Down syndrome? Because I know for Armand, that was like a conversation I had on with my parents too. Is like, hey, like I think that's something that he should know, right? Like I don't think it's something that we should pretend doesn't exist. I think he should know that he has Down syndrome. And that's like something I've been talking to our parents about, and I don't know if they've had a conversation, but.
It's difficult because Alex doesn't understand, really.
I think it's something that, you know, we shouldn't pretend isn't there, right? And I think he should be aware, like, hey, like, I have Down syndrome, and I'm still like Armand, like, you know? And I think that's really important, but.
Our weekend in New York was coming to an end, and Armand's parents had come to take him home. But before we left, I was still keen to learn more about how having a sibling with Down syndrome had impacted Amber personally.
I suppose the biggest conclusion has been, you know, from an early age, more work, more speech therapy, you know, after classes, everything like this. You know. Do you kind of wish you had another sibling to help out?
I kind of like being the only sibling with Armand because I think we formed this like closeness. But I do think it would have been nice to like split the responsibilities with like another sibling, right? But also I'm not super excited about having another sibling. So yeah.
Yeah. I have another brother who, he adores Alex to bits, but it's a completely different relationship. And that's the way that it goes, you know. He'll see him very rarely. I feel like it's down to me. And sometimes you know, it's very daunting to think about it, but other times it's like, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah.
Do you have that?
Yes, I have the exact same feeling. A lot of like thoughts I had were just like, you know, like when I get older and like I have a partner and like maybe I'm married, like does Armand live with me? Like, you know, like, because that's like, I don't necessarily want children, right? So for me, I'm like, is my little brother gonna live with me? Like, because that's kind of like watching somebody, right? It's like, you know, how does Armand fit into like, I guess my future life? And like, I'm not exactly sure yet, but that's also why I think I've been putting pressure on my parents to be like, hey, we have to prepare him for like, when you guys aren't around, right? Because like, he can't be at the same level he's at now later, because that's something I think about often. But like, you know, I guess the alternative is like, would I rather take that on me as a rank of responsibility or like pass it on to someone else? And like, to be completely honest, I don't really trust anyone else with it.
I think he's got such a big heart. And I think you guys, as I said, I see a lot in you in our relationship. I think what you're doing is amazing. I really do.
I was grateful to have spent the time with Amber and Armand. Even though Armand's Down syndrome wasn't as disabling as Alex's, I liked her idea of what the future would look like for them. With enough persistence to help Alex become more independent, perhaps we could have the same. His own place, close to mine, and maybe even a job. Mumbai, one of the busiest cities in the world. It was hot, it was loud, and the wealth divide was clear to see.
Watch out, Alex. Watch the road, please. You're scared. Why are you scared? Why are you scared?
Mice.
Mice? Where's the mice? Namaste. Cheers, mate. India.
The local Down syndrome community had put me in touch with brothers Krish and Sajid, who were living together at the family home in a neighborhood close to where we were staying by Juhu Beach. Krish was an engineering student in the midst of his exams. He explained to me that although his brother Sajid had a job, his lack of independence meant that it was difficult to meet friends.
You know, everyone deserves the right to go outside and have their own lives and have a social life.
Social life in India for them is not even negligible. It's non-existent, I would say.
Wow.
So
really,
for him, friends now I've started noticing because he goes to his dance classes and stuff. So there he's got his friends, but talking to them outside of the dance class or the cooking class is nothing. While we 24/7, 5 minutes ago also I'm chatting with my friend, and probably 10 minutes later I'll be chatting with my friend. But for them it's nothing. You meet in class, there also if you hit it off with some, because then some of them are just not friendly or they're shy, they're not talkative. So outside of that, social life and friend circle is non-existent.
Looking around, I couldn't help but notice the importance of religion in the family home. I was curious to know how Sajid's Down syndrome tied into their spiritual beliefs.
So certain karma, certain actions get settled immediately, certain a little later, certain in a little longer in life. I have seen this in my own life. Somewhere it does square up. Many times I have done, for example, in office. You work so hard sometimes, right? And you feel you don't get your due. But if you're honest to yourself, you'll realize many times you do get something for which, if you truly hand on heart examine, you'll think, what did I do to get this? What did I do to get good kids like Sachit and Krish? Right? Maybe I would have done some good earlier. So it all squares up. Some way or the other, it squares up.
You know, get a good job, get enough money to be able to support your sibling. That's a huge undertaking.
It is. I'll probably never tell my parents about this, but then it's always there. I know I need to earn. It's not like I hate Sachit that I need to earn because of him. It's not that. It's not a feeling of like I have to do it because of him. It's a feeling of I need to do it for him. My only concern is, do I stay back and be there for him physically, or do I go to London, probably earn extra pounds and be there for him financially?
Because, you know, you shouldn't have to sacrifice your own life just for him. No?
That is there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
But it shouldn't be, because I have the same thing. You know, I feel like I have to sacrifice a part of my life.
There was this phase in my childhood where I felt really bitter कि I want to watch TV, I want to watch the cricket match, but he wants to watch some boring soap opera, or he still wants to watch his cartoons. And you have only one TV in the house, and then it was always like he gets precedence. So there was this phase कि why do I have to give up for him? Why do I always have to listen? Why am I the only one who doesn't get to do what he wants?
Vegetable.
Vegetable?
Yes, vegetable. And then $20.
So this is a course you do?
Yeah. Yes. Only. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
And you do, so you do some cooking there?
Yeah.
You enjoy it?
Enjoy. Egg.
Oh, that looks like quite a nice egg.
Yeah. Inside. Eating.
You look a bit grumpy in this picture here, look. You don't look very happy with that.
Yeah.
Do it again. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about was your parents were showing me the gods that you are. Are you religious?
No. I would say firmly no.
No, but your parents are.
They are. They've let me be after a certain age, because first they used to be like, no, come to the temple with us. Now they just tell me it will be good if you go to the temple, but it's been years since I've visited one.
And what religion is it? Is it
Hinduism.
Hinduism, yeah.
And there is, you can say, false beliefs, you can say, because like we all know now, Down syndrome is not curable.
Yeah.
You shouldn't call it a disease to start with, but it's not curable, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then you'll have these preachers and stuff saying do this, or they'll bless them and that he'll become better and all this. Me personally, I don't believe too much into it, because I feel it's nothing. And mental, like Hinduism and India in general, mental disability is never treated kindly. So that's a very big problem out here. People just don't know about it. And I'm really lucky I have such supportive parents who support me and who support Sachit. But then if you're poor, because it's really tough, if you ever visit the slum, you'll see their life is really, really tough. So, and in that, if you get a child like this, they just abandon them. As a kid, or when they grow up a bit, when they see that there's no chance of improvement, and most of them are not literate.
I've only been here for 2 days, and I've seen that the divide is so huge that I can't be here and not explore that.
It was surprising to me that there were no government-organised schemes for people living with Down syndrome, but I'd heard there was a compassionate community that was prepared to help wherever possible. A number of businesses here were open to employing people with Down syndrome, and at Café Arpan in the centre of the Juhu suburb, it was almost entirely staffed by people with learning disabilities.
The way the system is that very often the behaviors get far too extreme, and then parents are at their wits' end. And then there are people out there who'll say, okay, I'll keep your child for you, but it costs the earth. It's also big business here. Institutionalizing is big business. We don't have the state or whatever. I mean, in America, it's called SSI, so we don't have any kinds of sources of income. We don't have Mediclaim like they have in the US, and that's what I know. So the health insurance piece, we don't have those things here. But what we do have, and I'm seeing the difference, is that the community is getting very much more open, understanding, and willing to accept. So I do see that as a huge strength. I see, for instance, one of our guys, if he falls on the street, he's crossing the road, there'll be somebody out there to help him. That may not happen in England. That certainly won't happen in the US.
As we made our way back to see Sajid and Krish, we walked through the local slum. It was shocking to see just how many people live in these conditions of extreme poverty. Living so close, it must be a constant reminder of just how fortunate they are compared to so many others in the country.
Being so close to a lot of people that have nothing. And I mean, for me, I could have possibly imagined Alex in, somewhere like that. People with learning difficulties who are in the slums, who maybe need to go to hospital, who need to have health check and things like that. Do you know what it's like?
The slum has kind of its own economy. So you'll have a doctor over there. So you'll obviously have a tailor over there who will be cheaper than the tailor you'll see in my area. Similarly, you'll have a doctor who will be cheaper, but then he won't be that skilled. And we know they're really susceptible to some diseases. So it's not uncommon in the slum to die of, let's say, pneumonia. It should be curable if you go to a doctor. It's not fatal anymore. But then in the slums, because you can't get proper care, it's more dangerous than it should be.
I think the hardest thing is that Alex won't say to me sometimes how he's really feeling.
That's the whole thing, isn't it? Like, sometimes you know where he really cares, but then he won't be able to put it into words.
The sheer frustration of trying to understand your sibling.
And if he's angry or if he's worked up, then he won't be able to tell you why. And it's frustrating for them because you're not able to tell someone how you feel. Like, I can see when my friends come over, he also somewhere wishes I had friends like these. He'll always come and talk to my friends. But then he'll always leave because he'll feel that he'll embarrass me or something. Such has changed me, he's made me different. And Alex, in the same way, he's affected you. So somewhere Alex is growing because of you and somewhere you've grown because of Alex. So when people say, ki, what if you had a normal person, normal brother? I don't have any regrets. The grass is always greener on the other side, and I feel how much ever my family's grown, my parents have grown, I've grown because of him. What if that wasn't there? He might have been normal. I would have more fun. I would have probably been kicking a soccer ball with him right now, but then I would have lost on so much more.
It was inspiring to hear Krish speak about his brother, but I couldn't stop thinking about the harsh reality for so many others. The best case for someone with a disability born into the slums was a life of isolation in a rundown children's centre. I'd heard of a place called Dong Dao, a government-run organisation for abandoned children in the outskirts of Hanoi. First-person accounts from those who'd spent time there described being snatched off the streets in the middle of the night, living in cramped cells with only 30 minutes of exercise a day. Beatings were a regular occurrence, and those who attempted to escape would have to contend with high barbed wire fences and a perimeter of broken glass. Allegedly, neither the UN or any other welfare organisation have ever been granted access. If they couldn't see inside, I didn't hold much hope for us.
Disabled children?
Khuyết tật à?
Yeah.
Đứng lại ạ.
Down here? Here? Okay.
Don't take photos and don't take videos.
The picture, why do you choose my office?
Why?
Yeah.
What's your name? What's your name?
Alex.
Alex.
Yeah.
No one here is like him.
Yeah. No. Nobody.
I was stonewalled and prevented from seeing anything inside the facility. They denied that anyone living there had a disability. But if these were abandoned and homeless people taken from the streets, I found it hard to believe. Alex and I sat down for some food at a place that seemed popular with the locals. I used this as an opportunity to ask some more questions.
What is the practice, or what do they do here for people with special needs or mental health issues?
Okay, so let's divide it into two different kind of disabilities, yeah? Physical disability and mental disability. So obviously with physical disability, the family would normally they go for the normal medicine, normal medical help. But for mental disability, the most common thing for families in Vietnam is that we would go for the spiritual healer, because we do believe that such bad fortune happens to the family because maybe we did something wrong, or maybe the people from the above and from the other world, they're angry at us. So they are punishing a member in our family for that. Because for mental disability, we tend to blame it on something wrong, and they would pray for it to get rid of it. It will be the quicker way to help the family's member to get cured. The people who are carrying out the superstitious activity like that, they help to ease the family, to comfort the family, but also they do make lots of money from it.
Do you think we'll be able to talk to these people, these fortune tellers?
I think it's going to be very difficult. But no, I don't think they would like to be exposed. It cannot be verified. There's no logic in it. What they are doing is not really legal, because they are making money on the belief of other people.
After speaking with the girls, I was determined to find one of these fortune tellers she told me about, known locally as Thai Boy. This teacher, also known as the Seer, seemed to have an almost cult-like following. I asked him what he thought about Alex.
Nếu mà bị từ lúc sinh thì có thể do là bệnh thiểu năng tuần hoàn não. Đấy, là do bệnh sinh ra.
Do you feel like he can be cured?
Nhưng là cũng có thể dùng tâm linh để cầu đảo cho người này có thể thay đổi đi được, có thể để có tốt đẹp được hơn.
He said that he cannot be sure that 100% that your brother can be totally different, but he tried to pray the angel about 50-60% that make him better. Yeah, have the belief in the teacher.
Well, right. So Alex, this is an egg coffee. Egg coffee. Is that all right, mate? You okay? You look a bit tired. You all right? Sure? Sure? You just sleep okay? Good dreams? Good dreams? What dreams did you have?
None.
What?
None.
Mayonnaise. Mayonnaise.
I found an NGO called Phúc Choi, a centre for children with disabilities.
Hello.
The children here were not abandoned, but the parents were paying for their care and education during the day, whilst they were out at work. The school fees were well in excess of any government grants. They invited us to spend some time there. It was interesting and inspiring to see the local students come to volunteer there as part of their courses, regardless of what they were studying. I hoped this would be where I'd find some siblings.
Do you have a family? Do you have a brother or sister?
Do any of them have brothers and sisters?
We really want to speak to a brother and sister with someone who has Down syndrome. So your brother is here?
Yes.
Yeah. What's his name?
His name Viet.
Viet. And he has Down syndrome?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, how are you?
Hello.
Hello. This is Alex.
Hi. Hi, Nick. Hi, Nick. Hi, Nick.
Hi.
I had my doubts that Viet really had Down syndrome. Nam had to get back home, but we agreed to meet up the next day.
How are you, man? You found us.
Oh, hey, Alex. Hello. How are you? Yeah. Doing well? Yeah. In Vietnam, when we were 6, we have to go to the primary school. Yeah. And well, that makes him cannot focus and cannot keeping up with his friend in the kindergarten. So we have to find him a special school.
Yeah, same problem. When he was young, he went to a normal school, but he was bullied. People used to throw stones at him.
Yeah, I know. My parents, they don't. Sometimes I feel that they really exhausted. Yeah, and almost like giving up. For like 1 or 2 years, I'm just only see him when we were having dinner, and nothing more, nothing less. Yeah. Didn't have any responsibility at all. I pushed it all to my parents. Yeah. After the talk with my grandfather, I started looking at myself and see I need to take responsibility of him. But I don't know in the future I become a policeman, so I don't know that I have much time left for him. So I'm still trying to do what I'm best for him. Yes.
This trip has been the time in my life where I've really thought I need to move on, and I need to, have my own wife and have my own family, and that's very hard to come to terms with. I mean, everyone I've tried to speak to has said, well, they're either married or they've got their own family, or they're too busy and they're working, and I just think, well, you know, I need to go and do these things, and I need to. I've sacrificed a bit of my own life, and maybe I feel like I need to move on.
As we headed out, I thought more about the attitudes in Vietnam and the conditions of the government institutions like Dong Dao. Was it true, or had conditions changed since the articles were written?
It was from what I read anyway. I read this online about that there were beatings and people having to go to the toilet in a bucket and people trying to escape.
I read about it too. But,
you read about it?
Yeah, I know, but the young people, they fight for it, they stand for it, and they must change the way they're doing this.
It struck me that many Vietnamese people believe that disabilities like Down syndrome could be cured. I wondered if Nam's family had struggled with the idea of trying to cure Viet.
My mum has often said that if she could change Alex, then she would. And I don't think it doesn't come from a bad place. There are many amazing things about Alex, but there are obviously parts of his life that he just won't be able to do. I remember my dad said when he was born, he's got 10 fingers and 10 toes, and he's my boy, no matter what. Although it was hard, and it was probably harder back then in the 90s, I mean, when he was born, they just handed him a piece of paper about Down syndrome and said, okay, see you later.
Some doctor advise us to having like brain surgery to get, so my parents didn't come up with that idea, so they turned me down, shut me down.
I mean, you talk about brain surgery, and it seems to me that sounds like it's brain surgery without them really knowing what to do.
Pointless. The suffer he gets and the pain back from now, from this is shame for them. Take advantage on disability is shame. Especially the fortune you're gonna make. Not for me like that.
As I learnt more about Nam, he also mentioned how difficult it had been to find a girlfriend due to the stigma of disabilities and the belief in family curses.
Like I said, a relative or anything in the family may scare that might happen in the children in the future. I hope that time after time might have a different, and people might have different view about the Down syndrome people like Alex.
I admired his honesty. Having spent time with Nam, I started to ask more questions about my own life and confront some of the realities of my future. I reflected on all the siblings we'd met. It dawned on me that I needed to find a better balance in my life, to achieve my own personal career ambitions, as well as starting my own family, while still being a good brother. As our journey draws to a close, the time has come for Alex to return to live with our parents. Standing at this juncture, I am profoundly moved by his resilience, and I'm optimistic that he can continue his path to independence. Whilst the future holds the possibility that he might once again be in my care, I approach this prospect with an open heart, knowing that the bond we share transcends any challenge.